Have you ever felt used by someone who only reaches out when they need something? This behavior can leave you feeling frustrated and undervalued. In this video, we'll dive into the psychological roots of this dynamic, based on Carl Jung's insights. Discover how to protect your emotional well-being, strengthen your relationships, and even unlock financial and personal growth. Don't miss out on transforming your connections for the better. So stay with us until the end, because the number one will surprise and transform your life. But before we start this video, give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the bell for more content like this. Let's go together. Tip 10. The shadow self in relationships. The concept of the shadow self, introduced by Carl Jung, refers to the unconscious parts of our personality that we often deny or repress. In relationships, this shadow can manifest as behaviors that are not always healthy or constructive. Characteristics of the shadow self include feelings of jealousy, anger, or insecurity, which may surface in moments of stress or conflict. Often, individuals may only seek out their partners when they need emotional support or assistance, reflecting their shadow's tendency to avoid vulnerability and connection during stable times. To deal with the shadow self in relationships, it's essential to cultivate self-awareness. Acknowledging and understanding your own shadow can help you communicate better with your partner and foster a more balanced relationship. It's also important to encourage open dialogue about feelings and needs, which can prevent the shadow from dominating interactions. Engaging in self-reflection, journaling, or even therapy can provide insight into these hidden aspects of ourselves. By embracing the shadow self, we can transform these darker traits into opportunities for growth and deeper connection. Remember, acknowledging your shadow is not a sign of weakness, but a courageous step toward personal development and healthier relationships. Tip 9. The shadow self in relationships. The concept of the shadow self, introduced by Carl Jung, refers to the unconscious parts of our personality that we often deny or repress. In relationships, this can manifest as behaviors that are not aligned with our conscious self, leading to complex dynamics. Characteristics of the shadow self include feelings of jealousy, anger, or insecurity, which may surface unexpectedly. When someone only seeks you out when they need something, it often reflects their own shadow self at play. They may not fully acknowledge their dependency or vulnerability, leading to a transactional approach to relationships. To deal with this, it's essential to cultivate self-awareness. Recognizing your own shadow self can help you understand why you might attract or tolerate such behaviors in others. It's also important to set boundaries. Communicate openly about your feelings and expectations. This can create a healthier dynamic, encouraging the other person to confront their own shadow rather than relying on you only in times of need. Additionally, practice compassion. Understanding that everyone has a shadow can help you respond with empathy rather than frustration. This doesn't mean you should tolerate negative behavior, but it allows you to approach the situation with a mindset of growth and understanding. By addressing these hidden aspects, both you and the other person can work towards a more balanced and fulfilling relationship. Tip 8. The shadow self in relationships. The concept of the shadow self, introduced by Carl Jung, refers to the unconscious part of our personality that contains repressed weaknesses, desires, and instincts. In relationships, this aspect of ourselves can manifest in various ways, particularly when someone only seeks you out during times of need. This behavior often stems from an inability to confront their own vulnerabilities, leading them to rely on others for support without reciprocating. Characteristics of individuals who exhibit this behavior may include a lack of emotional availability, inconsistency in communication, and a tendency to prioritize their own needs over the needs of others. They might appear charming and engaging when they need something, but once their needs are met, they may withdraw or become distant. This creates an unbalanced dynamic, where one person feels used or undervalued. To deal with the shadow self in relationships, it's essential to establish boundaries. Communicating openly about your feelings and expectations can help create a more balanced relationship. Encourage the other person to reflect on their behavior and consider the impact it has on you. It's also important to recognize your own shadow self. Understanding your own needs and vulnerabilities can foster healthier interactions. Engaging in self-reflection and possibly seeking therapy can be beneficial in addressing these deeper issues. By acknowledging and confronting the shadow self, both individuals can work towards a more authentic and fulfilling relationship. Tip 7. The shadow self in relationships. The concept of the shadow self, introduced by Carl Jung, refers to the unconscious part of our personality that contains repressed weaknesses, desires, and instincts. In relationships, this shadow can manifest in various ways, especially when someone only seeks you out in times of need. Such behavior often stems from unresolved issues within themselves, leading them to project their needs onto others instead of addressing their own shortcomings. Characteristics of this dynamic include emotional manipulation, inconsistency, and a lack of genuine connection. When someone approaches you only when they require assistance, it can create feelings of resentment and imbalance in the relationship. It's essential to recognize that this behavior often reflects the other person's struggles rather than your worth. To deal with this, set clear boundaries and communicate openly about your feelings. Establishing these boundaries allows you to protect your emotional well-being while encouraging the other person to confront their own shadow. Encourage them to seek help or self-reflection, which can lead to healthier interactions in the future. Remember, it's crucial to prioritize your own needs and not get lost in the cycle of being a constant source of support without reciprocity. By understanding the shadow self, both you and the other person can work towards a more balanced and fulfilling relationship. Tip 6. The shadow self in relationships. The concept of the shadow self, introduced by Carl Jung, refers to the unconscious part of our personality that contains repressed weaknesses, desires, and instincts. In relationships, this shadow self can manifest in various ways, particularly when someone only seeks you out when they need something. Such individuals may be unaware of their own motivations, projecting their needs onto others without recognizing the underlying emotional dynamics at play. Characteristics of this behavior include inconsistency, emotional unavailability, and a pattern of self-serving interactions. They may only reach out during times of crisis or when they require support, leaving you feeling used and undervalued. To deal with someone exhibiting these traits, it's essential to maintain healthy boundaries. Acknowledge your own feelings and recognize that their behavior is not a reflection of your worth. Open communication about your needs and expectations can also help clarify the relationship dynamic. Encourage them to explore their shadow self, fostering a deeper understanding of their motivations. This process might lead to more genuine interactions, but be prepared for the possibility that they may not change. Ultimately, self-care is crucial. Prioritize your emotional well-being and surround yourself with individuals who appreciate and respect you consistently. Tip 5. The shadow self in relationships. The concept of the shadow self, as introduced by Carl Jung, refers to the unconscious part of our personality that contains our repressed weaknesses, desires, and instincts. In relationships, this shadow can manifest in various ways, often leading to unhealthy dynamics. One common characteristic of individuals who only seek you when they need something is their tendency to project their own insecurities and unresolved issues onto others. They may not fully recognize their neediness or the impact it has on their relationships, leading to a one-sided connection. To deal with someone who exhibits this behavior, it's essential to establish boundaries. Recognize that their actions may stem from their shadow self, which they might not be aware of. Open communication can help, but it's crucial to maintain a balance where your needs are also acknowledged. Encouraging them to explore their own motivations and emotions can foster a deeper understanding of themselves and improve the relationship. Additionally, practicing self-awareness is vital. By understanding your own shadow self, you can better navigate interactions with those who may only reach out in times of need. This awareness allows you to respond with empathy while also protecting your emotional well-being. Ultimately, dealing with the shadow self in relationships requires a blend of compassion and assertiveness, ensuring that both parties can grow and thrive. Tip 4. The shadow self in relationships. The concept of the shadow self, introduced by Carl Jung, refers to the unconscious part of our personality that contains repressed weaknesses, desires, and instincts. In relationships, this aspect can manifest in individuals who only reach out when they need something, revealing their deeper emotional struggles and unresolved issues. People often project their shadow onto others, which can lead to manipulative behaviors and an imbalance in the relationship dynamic. Characteristics of this behavior include inconsistency, emotional unavailability, and a lack of genuine interest in the other person unless there is a personal gain involved. This can create feelings of frustration and hurt for those on the receiving end, as they may feel used or undervalued. To deal with someone exhibiting these traits, it's essential to establish boundaries. Communicate your feelings openly and assertively, making it clear that relationships should be reciprocal. Encourage them to explore their shadow self by fostering self-awareness and emotional growth. This might involve suggesting they seek therapy or engage in reflective practices that help them understand their motivations better. By addressing the underlying issues, both parties can work towards a healthier dynamic. Remember, it's important to prioritize your own emotional well-being and not allow yourself to be a constant source of support for someone who only shows up when it's convenient for them. In doing so, you can cultivate more meaningful and balanced relationships in your life. Tip 3. The shadow self in relationships. The concept of the shadow self, introduced by Carl Jung, refers to the unconscious part of our personality that contains our repressed weaknesses, desires, and instincts. In relationships, this shadow self can manifest in various ways, often influencing how we interact with others. When someone only seeks you out when they need something, it may be a reflection of their shadow self. They might be unaware of their dependency or the emotional void they are trying to fill, leading them to reach out only in times of need. Characteristics of this behavior include inconsistency, lack of emotional availability, and a tendency to prioritize their needs over yours. Such individuals may struggle with vulnerability, making it challenging for them to form genuine connections. They often project their fears and insecurities onto others, which can create an unbalanced dynamic in the relationship. Recognizing these traits is the first step in understanding their motivations and behaviors. To deal with someone who exhibits these characteristics, it's essential to establish clear boundaries. Communicate your feelings openly and let them know how their behavior affects you. Encourage them to explore their shadow self, perhaps by suggesting therapy or self-reflection practices. Ultimately, fostering a relationship where both parties feel valued and supported is crucial. By acknowledging and addressing the shadow self, you can create a more balanced and fulfilling connection. Tip 2. The shadow self in relationships. The concept of the shadow self, introduced by Carl Jung, refers to the unconscious part of our personality that contains repressed weaknesses, desires, and instincts. In relationships, this shadow can manifest as behaviors or traits we might not fully acknowledge in ourselves. For instance, someone who only seeks you out when they need something might be projecting their own insecurities or unmet needs onto you, reflecting their shadow self. Characteristics of this behavior can include inconsistency, lack of emotional availability, and a tendency to only reach out during times of crisis. These individuals may struggle with vulnerability, preferring to maintain a facade of independence while secretly relying on others for support. This dynamic can create a one-sided relationship, where the person only engages when it serves their interests. To deal with someone exhibiting these traits, it's crucial to establish boundaries. Communicate openly about your feelings and expectations, and don't hesitate to express when you feel used or undervalued. Encourage them to explore their shadow self, perhaps through self-reflection or therapy, to develop a more balanced and reciprocal relationship. It's also important to assess your own needs and ensure that you are not enabling this behavior by consistently being available for them. By understanding the shadow self, both you and the person in question can work towards healthier interactions and a more fulfilling relationship. Acknowledging these dynamics can lead to personal growth and improved connections with others. Tip 1. The shadow self in relationships. The concept of the shadow self, introduced by Carl Jung, refers to the unconscious part of our personality that contains repressed weaknesses, desires, and instincts. In relationships, this shadow can manifest as behaviors that are not aligned with our conscious self. People who only seek you when they need something often have an unacknowledged shadow. They may be unaware of their dependency on others or their inability to form genuine connections. Characteristics of this behavior include inconsistency, lack of emotional availability, and a tendency to prioritize their needs over others. This can lead to feelings of resentment in the person being sought after, as they may feel used or taken for granted. To deal with someone who exhibits this behavior, it's essential to establish boundaries. Communicate openly about your feelings and the impact of their actions on your relationship. Encourage them to reflect on their behavior and explore their shadow self. This can be a challenging process, as it requires vulnerability and self-awareness. However, it can also lead to deeper understanding and growth for both parties involved. Remember, it's important to protect your emotional well-being while encouraging others to confront their shadows. By addressing these dynamics, you may help them develop healthier patterns in relationships. That's all for now. If you enjoyed this video, share it with your friends and give it a like. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss more tips like this one. Leave a comment telling us what you thought of the video and what you'd like to see in future videos. Remember, we have other videos in this style that you'll enjoy watching. Just visit our channel, and I guarantee you'll like it.